Chicago Bears voice, the shadows of greatness Chicago, we need to speak right now because something incredible is shifting in the shadows of this franchise. If you are not paying attention to what is happening beneath the surface, you are going to miss the most explosive storyline of the entire NFL offseason. The ground beneath Hollis Hall is shaking, and the rest of the league is starting to notice. Just hours ago, Maxx Crosby posted something on social media that sent this entire city into a full-blown frenzy. At the exact same time, Montez Sweat just received the ultimate validation, voted onto the NFL Top 100 by the very men who have to block him every single Sunday. What those players said about him on camera will make your jaw drop. And then there is Luther Burden, a second-year wide receiver who had virtually 0 touchdowns last season, who just got projected for 6 of them in 2026 by one of the most respected analysts in football. 3 separate stories, 3 massive earthquakes shaking the foundation of this Bears franchise at the exact same moment. When you see how all 3 of these pieces connect, you are going to understand why the city of Chicago is sitting on the edge of something historically special. This is about identity, power, and the pursuit of a championship. Bear down. Let us get into all of it right now. Let us start with the man who lit the match. Maxx Crosby, one of the most feared, relentless pass rushers in the entire NFL, posted a message on his social media that stopped the entire Bears fan base in its tracks. He wrote plain and simple that people need to stop people-pleasing and handle business accordingly. Now, you could read that text 100 different ways. But when you are talking about a 28-year-old defensive end playing for a franchise in full rebuilding mode, a man who was hours away from being traded to the Baltimore Ravens just months ago before that deal collapsed under mysterious circumstances, a message like that does not live in a vacuum. It echoes. It reverberates through the league. In a city like Chicago, which has been starving for an elite pass-rushing partner to pair with Montez Sweat, every single syllable of that post feels like a signal flare shot directly into the Chicago skyline. To truly understand why this matters to us, we have to look at what happened with that Ravens situation, because the details are wild. The Baltimore Ravens had originally agreed to send 2 first-round draft picks to the Las Vegas Raiders for Crosby. 2 firsts. That is elite, franchise-altering valuation. Baltimore wanted him badly enough to empty their treasury. But the deal collapsed when the Ravens backed out over medical concerns after Crosby underwent knee surgery. Crosby came out swinging, insisting he was completely healthy and ready to dominate. But the damage was done. The deal was dead. Now, every smart team in the league is circling, waiting to see when the Raiders will finally pull the trigger on a total rebuild. The call to the desert. This is exactly where Chicago enters the picture in a major way. The Bears were one of the primary teams to check in on Crosby when he was available. Bears general manager Ryan Poles himself confirmed the interest, admitting the organization was involved, that they looked into whether it made sense, had real dialogue, and that sometimes things fit with your resources and sometimes they do not. What that tells you is simple. Ryan Poles already picked up the phone on this one. He already initiated the conversation. The only real question left is whether he is willing to pick it up again at the right moment, at the right price, and under the right circumstances. Production like that does not come cheap, but let us look at the brutal reality of Chicago's pass rush situation that makes this conversation absolutely necessary. The Bears finished tied for the 7th fewest sacks in the entire NFL last season. Even worse, only one team in the entire league had a lower pass rush win rate. As we look at the defense, young players like Austin Booker, Dayo Odeyingbo, and Shamar Turner are being counted on to provide the help opposite Montez Sweat. The problem is, every single one of those players is a massive wild card. Booker is the most promising after recording 4.5 sacks last season, but the jury is still very much out on him. Turner is working his way back from a torn ankle, and Odhiambo is recovering from a torn Achilles after failing to produce consistently even when he was healthy. That is not a supporting cast. That is a collection of question marks behind one elite performer. In the NFL, question marks do not win playoff games in January. Before we go any further into how Ryan Poles can pull off this blockbuster trade, I want to take a quick moment for our community. We put an incredible amount of hard work, sleepless nights, and dedication into producing deep dive documentaries like this for you. We want to bring you the realest, most authentic Bears coverage on the internet. Every single subscription equals a massive wave of motivation for us to keep pushing, keep researching, and keep delivering for this fan base. If you love this team and want to help us grow our community, please take 1 second right now to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, share this video with another Bears fan, and leave a comment below. It truly means the world to us. Let us keep building this together. Bear down. Now, multiple national reporters have connected Chicago directly to the Crosby trade conversation. Analysts have named the Bears as potential suitors alongside teams like the Cowboys, the Bills, and the Patriots. But among all of those options, Chicago makes the most sense in terms of schematic fit, competitive window, and absolute positional need. The argument is almost too obvious. The Bears have Caleb Williams entering a crucial developmental stretch. They have an offense that Ben Johnson is building to be a top 5 unit in the league. Yet, their single biggest defensive vulnerability is still generating consistent, sustained pressure on opposing quarterbacks without having to blitz. Crosby is the exact answer to that exact problem. It is not subtle, it is not complicated, it is pure football math, and the equation is screaming for a move. The price of greatness, of course. There are real obstacles to a deal like this. Crosby wants out of Las Vegas, and according to insider reports, rival personnel executives believe this is the perfect time for the Raiders to move him. But the Raiders are not giving away a 5-time Pro Bowler for loose change. They lost some leverage when the Baltimore deal fell through, but they have not lost their pride. They know exactly what they have. Thankfully, Ryan Poles is one of the most calculated, disciplined general managers in the league. He is not going to panic, and he is not going to overpay out of pure emotion. He is going to wait, he is going to evaluate, and he is going to make his move at the exact right time under the right conditions. The smartest analysts covering this situation believe a fair offer in the range of a first-round and a third-round pick in the 2027 draft could get this deal done, with the Raiders potentially kicking back a later-round pick to balance out the value. That is a far cry from the 2 first-rounders Baltimore offered. The 2027 draft class is widely regarded as an excellent one, which gives Chicago a legitimate path to convincing the Raiders that the compensation makes sense. That is not highway robbery, it is a negotiation that 2 motivated parties could realistically land on. If this Bears team starts the season the way everyone in Chicago believes they can, that conversation is going to happen. But while everyone is obsessing over what the Bears might acquire, it is time to give credit to what the Bears already have in the building. This brings us directly to Montez Sweat, because the man just received the kind of validation that cannot be manufactured, cannot be bought, and cannot be spun by the media. Sweat was voted the 91st best player in the NFL by his own peers on the annual NFL Top 100 list. Think about that for a second. This is not a fan vote. This is not a media ranking from talking heads behind a desk. These are the offensive tackles, the guards, and the quarterbacks who line up across from him every single Sunday, telling the entire world that Montez Sweat is among the absolute elite at what he does. That is respect in its purest, most unfiltered form. The things his peers said about him on camera were not just complimentary, they were technically precise and genuinely illuminating. Max Crosby himself was one of the first to speak on Sweat, and what he said was striking. He recalled watching Sweat run a blazing 4.41 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. For context, Crosby ran a 4.66 at the same event, which was already considered incredibly fast for a defensive end his size. Sweat ran more than 0.2 of a second faster at the exact same weight. That gap is enormous at the professional level. Sweat physically moves at a speed that offensive tackles simply cannot process with the same tools they use against conventional pass rushers. The unstoppable force. This is the second time Sweat has landed on the top 100 list, proving he is no fluke or one-year wonder. He is a consistent, elite performer who is still actively ascending. He led the Bears last season in quarterback hits with 18, tackles for loss with 13, and total sacks with 10. To put his dominance into perspective, no other player on Chicago's entire defense had more than 6 tackles for loss or 6 sacks. The Bears were heavily reliant on turnovers, but Sweat was the one constant, reliable source of success for this defense game in and game out. He carried an entire pass rush on his back, generating elite production while fighting through constant double teams. That is not just good play, that is iron will. Even the offensive minds are standing in awe of him. Ben Johnson could barely contain his excitement when talking about Sweat during mandatory minicamp. He said that when he went back and watched the full self-scout from the season. His appreciation for Sweat only grew. He argued that despite the debates around whether the raw numbers fully captured his impact, it was arguably the best year of Sweat's career, highlighting his ability to play both the run and the pass at an elite level as his defining characteristic. When an offensive mastermind goes out of his way to call out a defensive player by name and label his season a career year, that is not filler. That is a real, raw evaluation from a man who watches film obsessively. Johnson saw something in that tape that the numbers alone cannot fully express. The real conversation around Sweat is not whether he is elite. The tape and his peers have already answered that definitively. The conversation is about freeing him to be everything he truly is, without the burden of being the only consistent threat on the edge. The greatest pass rushers in NFL history have always had a partner on the other side to split the attention. When an offensive coordinator knows the threat opposite Sweat is not a real problem. They can chip him with a tight end, shade the running back to his side, and take away the matchups where Sweat does his greatest damage. Give Sweat a genuine partner on the opposite side of the line, whether that is Max Crosby or a young player taking a massive leap, and you are not just adding a piece to the defense. You are unlocking a terrifying version of Montez Sweat that Chicago has not fully seen yet. That version, paired with the right complement, is the kind of combination that defensive coordinators have nightmares about all week long. The silent rise of Luther Burden now. Let us shift our focus to something that has been flying completely under the radar, because the pass rush conversation has consumed all the headlines. Let us talk about a young man named Luther Burden, because ESPN just projected him for 6 touchdowns this season. The argument behind that projection is not just hype or wishful thinking. It is cold, hard offensive logic that points towards something genuinely exciting happening in the red zone for the Chicago Bears this fall. Last season, Burden had essentially 0 touchdowns. He saw only a single target in the entire end zone during the regular season. His expected touchdowns based on target location ranked him near the bottom of all receivers in the NFL. But that number is not a reflection of his talent, it is a reflection of his role as a rookie. In year 1, Burden was operating mostly out of screens and short connections, learning the nuance of this complex offense from the ground up. Finishing with 53 total touches as a rookie learning a new system is not a failure. It was an apprenticeship. Now, the apprenticeship is over, and the training wheels are coming off. The reason the projection for 6 touchdowns carries real weight is the specific departure of 2 key players from this offense. DJ Moore and Equanimeous St. Brown combined for 9 touchdowns and 15 end zone targets last season. Both of them are gone. That massive percentage of scoring opportunity, those high-value end zone looks, and those precise red zone routes now belong to someone else. Ben Johnson's comments this week at minicamp made it crystal clear who he believes is ready to claim them. Johnson said the game is finally slowing down for Burden in a way it never did during his rookie year. He noted that Burden is no longer frantically processing the defense while running his route. Instead, he is reading and diagnosing the coverage before the snap at the line of scrimmage. He praised the phenomenal work Burden has put in with his position coaches on expanding his entire route tree. That is coordinator language describing a receiver making the single most important mental transition in professional football. It is the shift from a reactive player who responds to what the defense does to an anticipatory weapon who already knows where the ball is going before it even leaves the quarterback's hand. That transition, when it happens for a receiver of Burden's natural, explosive talent, is when star players are born. There is one more thing worth noting that keeps getting mentioned by the beat reporters who cover this team day in and day out. Luther Burden has been in the facility all offseason voluntarily, long before training camp and well before any official obligation. A second-year receiver who had a quiet rookie season, showing up early and putting in the silent work because he understands the massive moment he is standing in. That kind of self-awareness and work ethic, combined with this scheme and a quarterback like Caleb Williams who is gaining total command of the offense, points toward a receiver who is about to make a statement to the entire league. 6 touchdowns may not sound like a headline-grabbing number when you throw it out there cold, but in context, 6 touchdowns for a player who had virtually none in year 1, filling the scoring void left by departed veterans, means that 6 is not the final destination. 6 is just the floor. Hashtag a new era in Chicago. So, here is where we stand. Chicago. You have a superstar pass rusher available on the trade market who posted a social media message that set this city on fire. You have an edge rusher of your own who was just called one of the top players in the entire NFL by the very men who have to block him. And you have a second-year receiver who spent the entire offseason quietly transforming himself into the red zone weapon this offense has been missing. The Bears have the pieces. They have the coaching. They have a defense anchored by an elite force. If the pass rush takes the leap it needs to take, whether that comes through a blockbuster trade or from our young guys stepping up, this team is going to be the most dangerous squad in the NFC North. Not just a contender, not just a hopeful team looking for a wild card, but a genuine, playoff-tested, quarterback-pressuring threat that every team in the conference is going to fear. The window is wide open, Chicago. The question is whether we are ready to reach through it and grab greatness. We are at the end of this journey today, but the conversation for our community is just getting started. As we wrap up this documentary, I want to remind you that we put hours of dedication, deep film study, and hard work into creating these stories for the best fan base in the world. Every single subscription, like, and share gives us the motivation to keep going. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to Chicago Bears Voice, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share this video everywhere. Now it is your turn. I want to know exactly where you stand on this. Should Ryan Poles make a historic move for Max Crosby, or do you trust the talent already developing in the building? Drop your take in the comments right now. I read every single one of them. Let me know if you are all in or if you think the current roster can get it done alone. This is the channel where Chicago gets the real conversation, not the surface-level media takes. We go deeper here. Bear down. Chicago? Da Bears.